Welcome to another episode of the Blue is the New White podcast. This week we've got a couple of very special guests that some of you may already know. Eric and Larry of the Blue Collar Nation podcast, a podcast that I've had the privilege of being on a couple of times now, and have had the privilege of knowing these two gentlemen and talking to them. Really, really great people. I think you guys are really going to enjoy the show. They also have morningtechmeeting.com. Which is a really wild service to teach technicians soft skills in the industry. Just a great bunch of guys. They really understand the ins and the outs of the industry. Very, very well traveled, very self-aware in what they do, and have really taken the right steps to make sure that they learn as much as they possibly can. And they've seen a lot of successes, a lot of failures, learn from all the failures. And their objective now is to teach other owners of blue-collar trades, businesses, how to learn from their failures. So enjoy this week's episode of Blue is the New White. And also, don't forget, we don't monetize this show. We don't sell ads. We don't pay for ads. We don't do anything like that. We rely entirely on word of mouth. So if you like this episode, if you found value in this episode, make sure to subscribe, rate it, share it. Tell somebody about it that you think might find it valuable as well. Thanks again, and enjoy the show. Larry, Eric, welcome to Blue is the New White, man. Thank you for both of you for coming on the show today. I'm really excited to hear your stories, individual and collective, and I think it's really going to resonate with our audience. So before we get into any of that, why don't you both just go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll dive in.
Sure.
What's happening, Josh? How are you, buddy?
Good, man. How are you?
Larry, why don't you tell them who you are?
Tell me who you are.
Who's Larry?
I'm Larry, one of the co-hosts of the Blue Collar Nation. And I got my tech whispering business partner below me on my Zoom call. He should be below me. That's where he belongs anyway.
And I'm kill you once
we've been business partners for quite a while. And yeah, we're gonna have fun.
College roommates.
Yeah.
Brother from another mother.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. We have Blue Collar Nation podcast, and we have a company called morningtechmeeting.com. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Eric, let's start with you, man. Let's hear your story. Where'd you come from? Where do you grow up? And
Sure.
Yep. All that.
All right. I grew up in Portland, Maine, and Portland, Maine now is very gentrified and really fancy. But when I was a kid, it was super blue collar town. If anybody's ever seen The Deadliest Catch, the movie, my hometown kind of looked like that back then. So basically everybody I knew's parents were some sort of blue collar, lobsterman, fisherman, electrician, plumber. My dad was a mailman. So I just grew up around that. And as a kid, my whole life was sports. I played a lot of sports, and I love being part of a team and all of that. And to be honest, I think I learned most of my leadership skills, both good and bad, from playing a lot of sports as a kid.
Didn't they swear at you a lot?
They swore at me a lot. That's where I got the dirty.
You get a lot of participation
My dad
trophies.
swore at me a lot too. And, that's where I got the dirty mouth from. And it's just I spent a lot of time getting in trouble and having to run laps and do push-ups, and it got me in better shape for being an adult. But I did that, and then I worked blue-collar jobs all growing up. You name it, I did it. I was a mason's assistant, a landscaper, electrician's assistant, clean swimming pools.
Like pool guy? Yeah, you're a pool guy.
Clean swimming pools. I work construction. I did a little bit of everything. And all everybody told me was, you need to get out of this. You got to get a white collar desk job. Like, don't do this. And I remember, and Josh, I think we spoke about this when you were on our podcast. I actually went to the vocational school portion of our school and said, hey, I think I'm kind of interested. And my guidance counselor was like, no, dude, that's where all the burnouts go. You're an athlete. Don't go there. And that did me a huge disservice, because it kind of took me on this big circle to get back to where I was. So anyway, I went to college with Larry, and I decided I was sick of getting yelled at by coaches. So I turned down playing sports and majored in drinking and lifting weights. Was my major, double major,
two of us.
Nice.
Took
Nice.
twice the time to do.
Graduated with honors,
So,
I assume.
Yeah, I mean, Larry and I basically just, I mean, look, we studied, but we partied and lifted through college, and it was wonderful. But I don't think I felt when I got out of there that I really had a real career path even then. So that would have been 1990.
What did you actually study in college?
Sports management.
Oh, okay.
We were going to run gyms. We were going to be muscleheads forever.
Yeah. So my first job was at Aetna Life Insurance in Hartford, Connecticut. And I had to wear a suit every day. And I had to have this like certain kind of haircut. We actually had a barber shop in the basement of this building had like 10,000 people in it. And they used to call us etnoids because we all looked and dressed alike. Anybody that knows me knows that it's not going to fly for very long. And I just got sick of pushing paper really quickly. Like I just wanted to be outside. I wanted to be going job to job. So after like 18 months of that, and it was considered a very good job at the time. I had great insurance and I had benefits and I had pretty good pay. My parents were proud of me. And Josh, I was losing my mind. I mean, I was just in a cubicle, just staring at this, like material. And I just up and quit one day. I just said, I'm out. And within like a couple days, I was digging ditches. And I was happier. It sounds terrible, but, I was happier. And then Larry had moved to California. And I just decided to move out there, too, because I didn't want to be, cold winters and all that stuff. And then once I got to California, Larry kind of lived an hour away from me. I was at the beach and I took a job being a prep guy for splicing fiber optic cable. And we'd start in San Diego and we went all the way to El Paso, Texas. So basically all through the Arizona desert, we were just digging ditches and splicing cable for what is now, all the infrastructure for our internet service, really. And that, so I was just on the road. I lived on the road for 2 years doing that. And then my wife was like, well, she was my girlfriend at the time. She's like, if you want to get married, I wanted to get married. She's like, if you want to get married, you actually need to be here. So I left that. And then I took a job as a technician installing golf simulators at a company in San Diego. And I was on the road all the time for that too. But, that was really interesting because the guy that owned it was a real entrepreneur. I mean, he was the entrepreneur's entrepreneur. It's the first time I'd ever been around an entrepreneur. And he reminded me of me, but just, a lot older. Like he just had that same kind of mindset and we clicked. So I moved up at that company really fast. I went from like lowly technician to VP of operations in like 3 years. And, I can't remember a time. I think we were doing like 20 million a year with like 13 guys.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. And I was flying all over because we had distributors and all over the world. So I was flying all over the world. I was never home. But at the end of the day, it was a family business and there was nowhere for me to go. And my aunt, he passed on and I would have had to work for the Suns and that wasn't going to happen. So I moved to Utah and started what originally was a home inspection business because I liked houses. I liked I'm detail oriented, so I like checking on things. And then I started up that. It was going well. I was marketing to realtors. It was fine. But then I could see the bubble coming. So this would have been like 2005 now, 5 or 6. So I started putting ads in the newspaper for air duct cleaning because I'd had people asking me if the air ducts were clean, which was out of the scope of a home inspection. Who cared if they were clean? And I'd always say, I don't know. I just make sure it works. I'm not checking to see, look for cleanliness. So I started looking at them and they were always filthy. So I didn't buy the equipment and I put an ad in the paper and then I would go around and do bids. And I just would tell people I'm so slammed, I'm like 2 months out. And then I sold enough jobs to pay for the equipment up front. So once I knew the equipment was paid for, then I bought the piece and then started working backwards and cleaning. And then that morphed into Larry coming in with the business and us moving it to California and all that. But that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
Oh, that's awesome. I had no idea you were so well traveled.
I've been pretty much everywhere.
Oh, that's awesome, and I'm really glad that I'm finally getting to hear everything from start to finish. So, Larry, why don't we move on to you? I'm curious how your path turned out.
Mine was much more fun, definitely, because he's got a structured story, and I played sports as a kid too.
Josh, hold on, Larry. Before you start, this sums up everything about our relationship, just in that one sentence.
Oh my God, he did this, I did this.
Oh gosh.
So no,
I'm more linear than Larry.
Sports was very helpful for us because I did a lot of individual sports. I was a wrestler and swimming and tennis and stuff, and that was more individual. And I could see how you knew a team there, but when we were hiring people, the team aspect was real helpful. What I learned was working in restaurants was probably and I did some blue collar jobs working on roofs and stuff, but I did most of my youth was working in restaurants and through college. And that was really cool about organizing your life and organizing your time and being social and just doing 10 things at the same time is a big deal because you got 10 people yelling at you at once and you got to get it all done immediately. That develops the skill set. And I try and get my kids into working in restaurants, but they think it's kind of crazy, but it was a lot of fun.
Well, Larry, you have your whole family, for the most part, worked in restaurants as well.
Yeah.
You come from a restaurant family.
Yeah. My dad ran food service at colleges, and then they had a restaurant, a deli. They were going to buy a restaurant when I was a kid, and my mom was like, no, I don't think so, because when you own a restaurant, I think that's pretty much an around-the-clock kind of job. And I think that was a good idea in the long run for my family. But anyway, we went to college, and I grew up in Jersey, so I was a Jersey guy. Half of my friends, their dads had crooked noses, and it was quite entertaining. But I grew up right outside of New York City, and half of the scenes from The Sopranos were filmed in the neighborhoods I grew up in. There was a scene where they shot one of the guys in a baseball field. It was the Gould School, and we used to play football there all the time as kids. And I was like,
that's where you used to get beaten up.
No, well, when I was a kid, and finally I started lifting weights and getting a little bit smarter, it worked out fine. But anyway, we went to college in New Hampshire. That's where I met Eric, and we had a blast. I was in a fraternity. Eric, when joined the fraternity, probably couldn't hang anyway. So,
no, I just enjoyed beating your fraternity basically single-handedly in every sport.
Yeah, in softball. Yeah,
no, I just didn't want to.
It was. So the fraternity was a ton of fun in college, and I learned a lot from organizational skills from the fraternity, besides the partying and the girls and everything else in the whole world. There wasn't a lot of academia that came out of Keene. I don't know.
Well, there was. We just didn't participate.
I still have a ton of great friends from there, so it's very cool. Anyway, so after school, of course, I moved straight out to California because I was done with the winters. It was just exhausting. And a bunch of my fraternity brothers moved out here too. We lived on the beach for a year or two. And I eventually became a computer guy. I got a computer science degree out in California. And that was cool. I worked on all kinds of different equipment. And it was fun, but it was, working for companies. It was a bureaucracy. And I was visiting Salt Lake one time doing work on a system. And I called up Eric, hey, I'm going to come up. Let's hang out. So I went to see him, and he pretty much drafted me into doing a job with him the next day, an air duct job. I'm on my hands and knees crawling around his house, cleaning the air ducts in the floor. He's like, hey, man, you got to join up this business. This is going to be great. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. But
I'm pretty good at sales, Josh.
Yeah, very good at sales. But my job was just, it wasn't going to go anywhere, and it wasn't as fulfilling. So I'm like, okay, cool. We'll make this happen. What was that like?
And Josh, here's
October,
the interest. October 2007. Yeah.
Yeah. We thought we were going to conquer the world. Economy was, maybe it was the summer. Maybe it was before that.
So here's the interesting thing. The interesting thing, the part that, Josh, that most people don't know about our story is, so I had left Southern California and moved to northern Utah, like an hour north of Salt Lake. And when Larry and I decided to partner up, I was going to come back to Southern California because there's so much more opportunity. You know, I mean, up here, there's just not as many people. So I lived in our warehouse for 2.5 years. Like we made the decision, we could either spend money on getting me an apartment or we could get a warehouse. So I was like, well, let's just get the warehouse. We'll build out a little, like apartment
on the side. Yeah.
And I'll live in it because I'm way committed to this business. And, I don't give a crap, basically. Let's just do this. So I thought it was going to be like 6 months, but it was 2.5 years. And, where we were in Rancho Cucamonga in the desert-ish, like all summer it's 100 degrees. Well, in a concrete tilt-up building, whatever it is outside, that's basically what it is inside, So, and then in the winter, Rancho's really cold. At night, it's like high 20s, low 30s. So, I spent 2.5 years either roasting my ass off or freezing my ass off.
It doesn't get that cold. He's exaggerating, but that's okay.
No, dude.
Maybe you might have been in the 40s.
40s. Okay. Whatever.
Either way, living in a warehouse is impressive.
Yeah. Look, dude, you weren't living in the warehouse. What do you know?
No. It seemed like I lived there, though.
Well, and then, but we were so motivated, Josh, to make it happen. It like, I didn't even care.
Yeah.
And Larry basically might as well have lived there too, because we worked 18 hours a day.
Yeah.
I mean,
but the thing that helped us a lot was the coaching that we did. We started with Joe Polish, and Eric was great. He found this Joe Polish guy, and we did all the research on him and got his discs and stuff. It was funny. We sent for the CDs, and we watched the CDs. And then we joined his group, and we met all kinds of people that we're associated with today. And then we went to Howard Partridge, and Howard Partridge helped a ton as well. And he's one of our colleagues and mentors as well. But one of the biggest things was the disc. Eric and I consider different personalities. We went into this conference.
Are you familiar with the disc profiling?
I've heard of it, but I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah.
Well, it was significant, and we can get into the details if you want. But just we were sitting there, and we did these profiles on each other. And I looked at his, and he looked at mine, and they were just doing this exercise together. And I go, oh, that's why you're an asshole. And he said, oh, that's why you can't keep track of anything and you're scatterbrained and all over the map. And we looked at each other, and it was like this moment where it clicked, because we just forgave each other for being idiots in our own way and realized that we had strengths as well, which were what we would focus on.
Let me lead into that story, Larry, a little more detail. So Larry and I were
plenty of detail.
No, there wasn't. Larry and I were fighting a lot because I'm very much operational driven, process driven, details. Larry's a marketer and he's all over the place, and so we were butting heads. We had gone to Howard Partridge's week-long training, and he had Dr. Robert Rome come in and give us disc tests.
Dr. Rome is so cool. If anybody could do that disc, it's just the best.
And that's when we realized, like, oh, this isn't personal. This isn't Larry trying to be bad to Eric or Eric being bad to Larry. This is just how we're wired. And it was like a light bulb moment for us.
Yeah.
So what we ended up doing was we ended up running our entire company for the rest of the time that we owned it from disc training. So basically every job description had a disc personality type associated to it. So technicians were one type, marketers were another, managers were another. And what it did is it took all this personal stuff that we all deal with
completely
kind of out of the equation. Like the guys got along better. They understood clients better because they could read them quickly. It was probably the greatest thing that ever happened to our business, to be honest.
The coaching
and I still teach it once a week in morning tech meeting because I think it's that important.
So anyway, this is great because before this, we'd get arguing in the office and making noise and screaming at each other. And whenever our team was around, boom, they disappear and they go hide in a truck or in a corner or in the bathroom. And we look around like, where is everybody? We got stuff that needs to be done. Nobody was around.
Well, what they didn't recognize, and we learned over the years, but, Larry and I are more like brothers. So, we had been, college together. So if we were having a tiff, we'd just have it wherever. And, everybody thought that we were going to kill each other and hated each other. And 2 minutes later, we'd be fine. It's like when your brother annoys you and you punch him and then it's done. And then it took us a while to realize that we just couldn't do that at work.
So who was punching who?
Yeah,
It was both ways.
both of us, yeah.
Goes both ways.
Yeah. So it's an adventure. The entrepreneurial roller coaster. Darren Hardy's book is not inaccurate. And as you know, you have stories like this too. This is the thing. I'm all into stories and telling things, and these crazy stories. They don't stop. I mean, they just happen all the time in an entrepreneurial business because you're never sure. The phrase we use all the time. Oh, I could have never made that up. Because these things would happen, and you're like, where did you get to this point? How did it wasn't? So it's very valuable, the experiences that we all have as entrepreneurs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really, really great story from both of you. I think both of you have a really interesting path, to that led you to where you are, especially making a home out of a warehouse. I mean, that's storybook stuff right there. I mean, that's what people really get intrigued by, because in the moment, right? You're not saying to yourself, "Oh, I can't wait to tell this story." You're saying to yourself, this is what I have to do to succeed and to survive.
To get out of the warehouse.
I can't wait to get out of the warehouse, right? And it doesn't make for a good story until 10 years later when you look back on everything and you got to where you want to go. So. No, I think that's really interesting, and I want to learn more about this disc thing that you guys are talking about. It sounds very very intriguing. But before that, so then how about so once you guys started the business, once you got established and kind of started bringing on technicians and things like that to help you run the business. And at this point, is it still a duct cleaning business, or is it?
No, it's carpet cleaning and duct clean, carpet, tile, upholstery, duct cleaning.
So when did that transition happen from duct cleaning to carpet cleaning?
Demand. People were just asking.
Yeah, we would be marketing duct cleaning, but you got to remember. Well, we got another story, Josh. Sorry,
I love it.
So we started in California, January 2nd, 2008. I drove down from Utah with a trailer full of equipment, stayed at Larry's house for a while until we could get settled. And the Great Recession hit. Boom. Right when we were starting. So all of a sudden, Larry and I are looking at each other going, we got this brand new business. We need to keep this thing going. So we started marketing anything and everything we could just to bring money in. So we realized that, the Inland Empire of California was one of the top foreclosure places in the whole United States. So Larry and I started going door to door to realtors, just offering to do trash outs, which, that is not nice work, but you know what? It paid. So we started doing trash outs. And then as we were doing that, they're going, hey, can you guys clean carpet? And, me, who was selling the duct stuff before we even owned it, I'm like, of course we can. So, and then, I'd be like, Larry, we got to buy a carpet cleaning. We started with a portable unit, just like a little carpet cleaner. And then we started doing janitorial at hair salons overnight. So for years, Larry and I would literally work 24. I mean, we'd only sleep a couple hours here and there, and we'd work around the clock for 2 years straight. Doing trash outs, carpet cleaning, and air ducts during the day, janitorial at hair salons all night long. It was mayhem. I've said it before.
Perfect.
It worked, but the day that we gave the janitorial away was the third greatest day of my life to my wedding and my children being born.
It was perfect preparation for the water damage business.
It was. yeah, that's true.
That was 24/7 anyway.
So how we got
got to be. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so Larry and I were doing so we had two vans. We had an air duct van and a carpet cleaning van, and they were labeled as each. It was just the two of us at the time. We might have had one guy. One day, I think we both had jobs cancel or something. We're having a bad day. It's like not a great day. And we parked kind of on this main road, just met up in a parking lot. And we pulled up, and then a truck pulls up and says, "Hey, do you guys do carpet cleaning and air duct cleaning?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he hands his card, and it's a very large franchise for or for restoration. And he's like, I need a carpet cleaner and I need a duct cleaner that are reliable to sub. So we're like, great. So the next day I brought them like a big thing of candy. And, I was like, I'm not letting this pass. And next thing you know, like 7 days a week, we're working for them as subs. And it was just like it was so interesting because they were so big. And then with the Yorba Linda fires happened. So we're just working nonstop.
There was the fires in this town, Yorba Linda, and it just there was huge homes, and every third home was just gone.
So, I'd go knock on the door to just go clean the carpet or something for smoke damage. And then they'd open the door and start screaming at me. Like, what's going on? And what I realized was they were frustrated with the restoration company, right? And it just it kept happening time and time again. And I looked at Larry and I'm like,
no service involved.
I'm like,
here.
We can do this better. I mean, not better, but we can do this differently, And so what happened was we started taking the classes. We started getting certified in water damage and mold remediation and fire and contents cleaning and all the things that you would need to be a restoration company. But that whole time we were still just doing sub work for them and carpet cleaning, for our own clients. And then we just started marketing to like our clients. Oh, if you have a flood, don't call a franchise, call us.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, we'd gone from no floods a month. Now we're getting like 3 on our own. Well, then we realized some of our clients are insurance agents. So we start marketing to them a little bit. So now all of a sudden we're doing 10 a month. And then all of a sudden it just starts growing, And then, Larry's out doing route marketing to plumbers and property managers. And it just, Josh, your business is like that too. It starts to gain momentum.
Yeah. Yeah. It's exciting when you finally start to see that happen. And at least for me, I don't remember actually, like I remember when we weren't busy. I remember when we were busy, but I don't really remember the transition from not busy to really busy. Because then in the moment, right, you're like, this is great. You're
still busy doing things though. You're still marketing. You're still doing so many things you don't notice.
And I don't know about,
that's a good point.
I don't know about you, Josh, but like when we started blowing up, because we went from like 225 grand a year to $1 million a year in like 9 months.
Wow, that's cool.
And that was it sounds like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
It was the worst thing ever because we were absolutely getting our butts kicked. Every day was just drama and fires. And, we kept having to hire people so quickly and we weren't really vetting them as like, oh, come out here. Can you fog this mirror? Yeah, you're hired,
Yeah.
And then, basically what we had to do is we basically had to get a coach and like let all these people go and start over again. So we had this like, it's like that VH1 Behind the Music where the band has the big climb and then they crash and then they climb out of it again. That's what happened to us. So we had been doing all this money and the next day, finally it was so bad. It was just Larry and I again. It wasn't for very long. But we were rehiring.
Yeah. Is that the day your
we
heart
were
sank?
out on the truck for like 2 weeks looking at each other going, we got to hire fast, man.
Yeah.
We're too old for this.
Yeah, no, that's a huge struggle. And I think, that's one thing that entrepreneurs are for if an insensitive way of saying it is wannabe entrepreneurs, but you know what I'm saying. A lot of people think that the growth is good, right? That it's always good and that the faster you grow, the better your business is, the stronger your business is, when in reality, that's just not the case. There is such a thing as growing too fast, and tripping over your own feet. And, we experienced it too. We went from, like you said, 225,000. We didn't jump up to $1 million from there. We jumped up to even, I think it was about like $500,000. So we still 100% over the previous year.
Doubling is huge.
And that was hard. And then we went from 500 to $1 million. And then we went from $1 million to 2.5. And then we went from 2.5 to 4.5. And then it just kept going from there. And it just, it's exhausting. And
every time
taxing.
you have that big growth, it overwhelms the systems you've put in place.
Yeah.
And you have to rebuild them to take on the new levels, don't you think?
Yep.
That's what happened to us.
Yeah. You're and sometimes you haven't even finished putting those systems in place when you realize that they're just not going to work, now. And that's what I tell people when they ask is that, building a business like that and that quickly is like trying to build an airplane mid-flight. That's the only way that I can describe it, because, it's just constantly moving, and, you're always, everything's a struggle, to try to change a piece here, a part there, and it's tough. So, I warn everybody who says that they want to be an entrepreneur, not trying to scare them off, just saying, hey, just make sure that you've got the heart for it.
Entrepreneurial seizure.
Yeah.
That was Michael Gerber's phrase.
Yeah.
And we've seen it, we've lived it. And you're like, and you see it in other people, when you bump into somebody, and they're right in the middle of that, and their eyes, you can see it in them. I always say, are you sleeping? That's always the first thing I say, because I know they're not sleeping. And when you don't sleep, you're just not on your game, and you can just see it. It's like when you have a baby that, the first month and the kid doesn't sleep and you're just wide awake. But it's like that for years.
Yeah.
And you don't know what to do because they don't teach us this stuff. We don't always know to get a coach. And the coach doesn't always get it the first time. And it's always helpful. But most people don't get a coach. Most people just ride that for years and years and years and think that's normal.
I think, and there's a difference between, like, I always look at the guys who are basically on the truck forever. And it's one thing if you look at your career and say, I don't want to have a lot of guys, excuse me, I want to be on the truck. I'm a technician. So I'm going to go charge accordingly, because by the time I'm 60, I'm done. Like, there will be nothing left of my back, my knees, my whatever. I think too many guys think that their business has value when all they have is a job. And they're not, because the things you have to do to make scale, like for you to go from 250 to 500 to 1.2 to 2.5, those are all different skill sets, right? You have to relearn new skills. You have to learn leadership. You have to learn training. You have to learn, administration, finance skills. Like, most of us don't start like that. We start like, I know how to clean a carpet.
Yep.
I'm really good at it.
Yeah.
But, the guy who says, I want to start a carpet cleaning business, and then, I'm going to take it here. You got to ask yourself, do you actually have the skill set or willing to go learn the skill set to do that? And I think every single person should have to read Michael Gerber's E-Myth a couple times before they open. That should be a prerequisite to getting a business license.
That's on my list of reading, and I just finished Blue Ocean Strategy, so I'm looking for a new one. Maybe I'll start there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Josh, when you were on our podcast, you talked about that a little bit, that, Michael Gerber breaks it down that there's 3 types of entrepreneurs in a way. There's technicians, managers, and entrepreneurs. Like you've said that your dad's he's a technician, and he was going to be on that truck, and you are the entrepreneurial type. So you have to know yourself before you just go.
Yeah. And I think that's really important for people to understand and remember. So let's keep this train moving. So you had this business, you experienced all of this growth quickly. So where did the company go from there? Like, where, you guys don't still own the business, do you, or do you?
We sold
Sold it. Okay. So what year did you sell it?
2018.
2018. September 24th at 3 o'clock and 47 seconds. I signed the paperwork.
Okay. So no, this is good. Let me ask you this. Did you build the business with the intent to one day sell it?
Yes and no. A bit of both. Larry never would have. I
You know, as an entrepreneur, you don't always know.
Larry's
I mean,
different
if you're
from me.
planning on it, if he was planning on it, most people might plan it.
Yeah.
It's for like riding a wave. All of a sudden, an opportunity came up.
Well, that Josh, but I think Larry and I built it to be sellable.
Yeah.
It was different.
Yeah, that's exactly true.
I don't think we necessarily built it up to be sold, but I learned, I had this awesome class called Strategies for Success through John Donne, which is like a supplier for the carpet and restoration industry. I went to this class and the teacher had sold his business years before. And he said, your job, no matter where you are, is to build a beautiful business. So the building needs to look good. The trucks need to look good. The technicians, there needs to be systems. And if you build that beautiful business that runs without you, you have options. You can stay, you can sell, you can do whatever you want. You can go golfing while they work. But if you don't do that, and then he laid out this like horrific entrepreneurial, like slave to your business story. And I realized right then and there, I had never thought of it in those terms before. I thought you start a business and you just work it till you die. Like, I didn't know. And then I came back from the class and I said, I kind of sold Larry on that vision. And it's like, we need to do this just, because we didn't start the business till we were like 40. So, there was only a timeline for us that was shorter than most guys.
And that's really cool. I mean, that's a really cool way to look at it. And I think it's important for entrepreneurs to look at it that way, and that's kind of the way that I see it too. I have no intention of selling this business, not anytime soon anyway. I'm having too much fun, but, and fun is relative, but, it's one of those things. You're riding the wave. I did grow and build the business to sustain itself without me. Now, right now, I put myself in charge of the growth. So I don't know that the company could continue to grow without me at this point, but it can operate. It can certainly operate, if I leave for a month, 2 months at a time, which I mean, I haven't had a vacation since my honeymoon 2012, but that's by choice. I just love what I do, no matter how many people I want to kill on a daily basis. But no, I really do. It's the excitement for me, and it is stressful, but it's the reality of the situation. You have to build it with the intent that it can one day operate without you, because you don't know what the future holds. You don't know if, one day I could lose that spark and I can just say, look, I'm tired. I need
know,
options.
Especially with society, the way things happen in a blink of an eye, where we are now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
well, it's funny you say that, Josh, because it goes back to the story I was telling you about the instructor at John Donne. He told his story. He had built a business that was sellable, and he worked it a lot like you just said. And he said he literally just woke up one morning, he's laying in bed, and he leaned over his wife and said, I don't want to go there today. And I don't want to go there any day after today. Like, he just, 1 minute to the next, he loved his business, and then he was just done. Like, he said there was no way to explain it. That's just how he felt.
Interesting.
And luckily for him, he had something to sell.
Yeah. So where, if you don't mind me asking, what was the company doing revenue-wise when you sold it?
Oh, I was doing like 3.
Nice.
So
nice. That's really awesome. And that's I mean, that's a great story. And then so once you sold it, is that when you kind of jumped into morning tech meeting and started the
I was doing it already.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Larry and I viewed our company as basically a training school for youth.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really how we grew. That's how we grew. That's the
perspective we had to take, because these guys would come from broken homes and they didn't have many skills. So instead of getting just mad at them and disappointed and bummed, we just helped them and trained them, and all of a sudden they became indebted to us for so many things.
Well, what we realized too, because we were having all the same problems everybody complains about. Like, all our peers would be like, oh, my guys, they're driving me crazy, da, 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 da. And Larry and I would look at each other and be like, there's got to be a better way than this. Like, every single guy, no matter what trade, was just always got the same complaints. So I went and got John Maxwell Leadership Certified as a way to try to get some tools and some skills to help our guys. Because I looked at Larry and we kind of both agreed, like, well, if the school system's not going to train them and their parents didn't train them, we're the only ones left. You know, we can sit and complain about them all the time, or we can do something about it. So we turned Shamrock Cleaning and Restoration basically into Shamrock Life Academy. You know, that's really what we did.
Wow.
And that changed everything. I mean, you talk about getting 5-star reviews, referrals, repeat clients, all those things. It's all from the soft skills that we trained our technicians on. You know, I mean, we had a meeting every single morning with every single person who was available. I mean, when you're in restoration, not everybody's always available, but we never stopped having the meeting. And you know what? A lot of guys could have made more money at other companies locally, but they didn't leave because we were investing in them. They loved the morning meeting. You know, they saw that we cared about them so much, and it didn't end at work. You know, it wasn't like, I mean, if they had personal problems, anything, I mean, look, we weren't like Dr. Phil, but we were,
I don't know.
Well, yeah, maybe, but we were there for them and they knew that. So it made a good culture, and that's what made our whole business run, to be honest. You know, I mean, everybody can go train technical skills till they're blue in the face, but if you got to realize a lot of our work was residential. And residential work is very different than commercial work when it comes to communicating with clients, you know, being in their most intimate private spaces. I mean, there's a lot at stake for companies like
There's
ours.
a lot more nuance that goes into the guys when they're communicating.
You know, but, you know, you could say the same for, you know, residential service plumbers and electricians and heating and air conditioning guys. It's the same. They're all the same skills. So we basically started morningtechmeeting.com and Blue Collar Consulting, which is all the same company, really, with that in mind. Because when we finished, we kind of looked at each other like, all right, well, what are we going to do now? I took a consulting job at a restoration company. And that wasn't really for me. And Larry and I just looked and were like, well, we could do what we did every day that works so well for us and put it in a video format and provide that at a very low cost to anybody who wants it.
And
so
it was
that's
easy
how
to implement, because we implemented it at Shamrock, because Eric would be in Utah for a couple of days visiting his family, and we just put him on the screen, shoot him onto the whiteboard, and it would be interactive. And we're like, oh, wow, this can work. Yep. And it has been working.
That's cool. So you guys had like a blueprint for it already, and you just decided to keep moving forward with it and offering to help other people with the same things that you guys struggled to learn, right?
Yeah. Well, that's
I mean, everybody acts like
curve.
Everybody acts like we just came out of the womb doing this kind of stuff. It certainly wasn't that way. I mean, Larry and I had many years at the beginning where we were really poor leaders and we didn't train and we didn't know these things. And I think that's why we're so passionate about it, Josh, because we've been on both sides of the coin. And the side where your guys are trained and the culture is good and there's some leadership happening is so much more enjoyable to own than the one where you put out fires and you complain about your guys all the time.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, the point is to get over that hump, right? And get to the point where it is fun and you can see the progress on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a yearly basis. You know, otherwise it's just like you're scratching and clawing for every dollar you make, and that's not a fun feeling.
It's also
it's also not why you start a business.
Right.
No, but you have to stay on. It's just like the marketing funnel. You got to keep pumping, keep pumping, keep pumping. It's the same thing. Keep investing in your guys and giving them attention and listening to them. It's not like, I mean, there's a hump you get over because it starts clicking, but a couple guys leave and you get a couple new guys in. You got to bring them up to speed as well. And of course, they do it. The self-training and the self-communication amongst themselves helps at that point because you got the water pulled coming up from the well. But it's really something that meeting, every time we'd skip it, it would be like scratching the record in the business for a day or two.
Yeah, it definitely. I can see how that would happen. So let's keep moving forward. I know that's, I don't know how much time you guys have, but we've been on for a little bit yet. But
no, we're good.
You're good. Eric, you still good?
Josh, we're here for you, man.
All right, cool, man.
Whatever you need.
All right, so I want to know how this is still continuing to evolve, because you are putting out a radio. Is it a radio show, or is it like a radio?
No,
how would you describe it? A radio station. All right, so yeah, it's a radio station called Blue Collar Nation Radio. I want to know a little bit more about that and how that came to be.
All right. Well, before the whole Corona thing was happening, Larry and I were talking to a local radio station in kind of the Inland Empire, California, that wanted to put us on an AM, weekly show, basically.
Yep.
So we were talking to them, and then the whole world shut down and everything got weird and all that. So Larry and I just put the brakes on that, because even though we sell all over the world for Morning Tech Meeting, I do a lot of one-to-one coaching and business in Southern California. Southern California is our jam. That's where that's our place.
A lot of relationships we developed over the years. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine, Larry. So Larry and I still view ourselves kind of as a local company in a way, like Greater Los Angeles, and so we were like, oh, well, we can pick up a lot of listeners in our area. Then Corona happens. So I don't know. We started podcasting every day, like you were on, like these little mini ones, just to help people at the beginning as the whole world was shutting down. We're like, well, how can we be helpful? Larry and I are big believers in the Zig Ziglar saying, if you help enough people get what it is they want, then you'll always have what it is that you want. Right. So we're like, okay, so for 5 or 6 weeks, we did 5 a week, like mini podcasts. And then one day I was just like, Larry, I listen to Josh, I listen to your podcast all the time. I listen to Tersh's podcast. I listen to all kinds of podcasts. And I'm like, they're too hard to find on iTunes sometimes. It was pissing me off, if you want to know the truth. So I was kind of like, why don't we try to make a radio station kind of like, that's basically what the local radio station does, right? It's no different. So I started looking at software and saying, okay, well, let me reach out to a handful of people like yourself that I know to see if they would be willing to put their podcast up. And then once that gets going, then I'll try to get as much blue collar content into one place so that we could even get to the point where we have an app. So a guy could just put it on his phone and be at work and just listen all day. That's the thing. And we're going to get other things that are kind of blue collar ish, like blue collar elk hunting is going to be on. I'm going to try to get a couple fishing shows on.
Well, and you can even start categorizing it, right, into different blue collar trades, if you will. You've got the HVAC channels over here. You've got the plumbing channels over here, whatever it may be. I think it's a really great idea, because you're right. They're hard to find on Spotify or iTunes, and you're constantly searching for different things with different keywords in order to get to hear what you want. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
But the good thing is that everybody can bring each other's audiences to this radio station, so everybody can kind of share. So the HVAC guys will benefit from the plumbing audience, from the restoration audience, and everybody's going to, that's what makes it better. Everybody's referring each other constantly.
Well, I think too, I think our hope, we just started, so, we're not even up and running yet, but I think our hope too is to create almost like a family or a team within the radio station itself, so that all the people that are a part of it, we are all helping each other because we feel like we know each other more. Look, Larry's the marketer extraordinaire. I learned that from him. I tend to be more of a loner, but you always grow more in whatever you do if you bring friends with you. And that's what we're trying to do. So basically what we do is we try to create as much content as we possibly can to be helpful for free. And then we obviously sell our morningtechmeeting.com. That's really what we're doing. I like to think Larry and I put out a lot of free content.
Oh yeah. It's everywhere. It really is. It's, so yeah, I think that's absolutely, fair and fantastic, because it seems like the next step in the distribution of media in the blue collar space. It does. And it surprises me that nothing like that has already, been developed. That's some serious forward thinking, that you guys had there. And I really think that it's going to take off.
Well, I hope so. I mean, there will be no lack of effort. I can promise you that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what we have going on right now. And we've been doing like a bunch of webinars too for Morning Tech Meeting. Just, Josh, the biggest roadblock for us is the owners always want to train technical skills. And I think they kind of don't really recognize that what they need is soft skills. And that goes for commercial too, because how many times
People
do you get a
skills,
phone call? Yeah. They're not calling about the technical thing that went wrong on the job site. They're calling because the guy parked his van in the rose bushes or whatever.
Yeah.
And those are the things that get you the 2-star review on Yelp. And those are the things that cause chaos in the office, because now all of a sudden the manager has to run over to that place and make sure that we get new roses for them. And, look, Larry and I have lived all of this. I mean, it's not like this is, but I think our greatest message to anybody listening is you would be surprised if you start investing in something like Morning Tech Meeting. I mean, shameless plug, but even if you're just doing it on your own, if you start investing in the soft skills of any service business, your life and business will get better.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Service industry, the people are the product. You improve the people, you improve the product.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
absolutely. I know difference. Rich Malachy has the gold collar service thing or whatever. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. So we're passionate about that.
No, that's awesome. So I kind of want to loop this back into one more blue collar question, if you guys don't mind.
Sure.
But I want to know, and this might be a difficult question, and maybe you guys have different answers, but how has what you guys have been through your struggles with the business, all your travels through the blue collar trades, let me rephrase that. What has led you to the most success? Does that make sense? As far as
through our experience, what has been the most successful for each of us?
What helped us the most?
Yeah, what helped you the most? What actually led to your success as far as personally? What everything you've been through, how did it contribute to your overall success?
We're going to have totally different answers on this.
Perfect.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, I'll own this. So when we first started and in my job before Shamrock, it was all about me and not about we. And I didn't understand that. I was super ambitious. And I really cared about what I was going to get out of stuff and how much money I was going to make. And I viewed everybody else as a part of that, but not the primary mover of that. And then over our trials and tribulations, I learned partly through Larry, but just also partly through experience that I needed to return to my roots as an athlete, where team is everything. And as soon as we started doing that, like I was like the kid that had been on that and then lost his way for a while. And then when I came back to the concept of team and everything is team, everything got better. That's for me. You agree with that, Larry?
Thank God. Yeah. It was horrible. Let me tell you.
I fight the me thing every day,
No, that's really cool. So it helped you. So this industry really helped you grow as a person and appreciate the team that you had around you.
I'm so much more empathetic for other people. I give them my time where I never used to. Like I think Larry I'm a totally different person in some ways.
Yeah,
it's made me a better person, I think.
That's
I don't know if a lot of other industries it would have been that way.
Not as quickly, at least.
I think the blue collar world has a way of bringing that out in people.
Yeah.
Dragging you down, kicking you around, and then picking you back up.
Yeah.
Yep. The more times you get knocked down, the more times you can get back up, which means the faster you can learn.
Yep. What about you, Larry?
So I think the biggest thing was the coaching, because I didn't know what to do. When we were starting out, you had ideas and you had more experience than me, and it gave us some direction. But going to Joe and Howard having us them giving us direction, then also meeting the people, the guys, the other business owners in the hallway and comparing businesses and talking, realizing that we weren't the only ones having trouble. They had similar troubles that we did, and sharing stories. Okay, that would make me more comfortable, because I always thought I was screwing everything up. I was making all these mistakes. I didn't know what to do.
You were.
Yeah. But realizing that other people were doing the same thing just brought it down a level. And then all the coaching things, I can replicate ideas real well. Eric comes up with the ideas and then I can run with them.
That's true.
So we do all the coaching and I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. So you pull, my problem was I pulled the 10 out of the top and then try and do all 10 at once. And that didn't work. So I needed to pull 1 or 2 out and then run with them. And then I become good at it. And I gravitated towards the marketing, just resonated much better with me. But the coaching was something that I always say it all the time. They don't teach us these skills in grammar school, high school, college. The coaching classes, the coaching communities to me were so valuable. And I don't know where else you would learn this stuff. Maybe an individual business coach.
Yeah. And that's the, obviously you guys know that's the part that I'm trying to break through, with the, with actually being able to teach some of this stuff in schools. But I mean, when you're talking about starting at the bottom, it's really starting at the bottom, because you not only have to teach this stuff in grammar schools and high schools and things like that, but you also have to even convince those schools that it's worth teaching, you know, and everybody has this perception, as I say all the time, that, the surest way to success is this college degree. So that's what the students are taught. And that's the path that they end up on, a lot of them, most of them anyway. And, so it's a battle. It starts with, one person at a time being able to change their minds and letting them hear stories like yours, real life experiences that have led to real, tangible, actual success and personal growth and all of the other opportunities that come out of, the blue collar world.
Yeah. And there's Ken, it's interesting, Josh. We had on Ken Midget. He's in Pennsylvania. He just
reached out to me.
Okay, he's awesome. Yeah, Ken's great. And we had him, and then Tim Regan, who's in New Jersey, who's an electrical instructor, back to back, 2 days in a row. And they both said something that they kind of go together. So Ken was like, when we do this, we have to get them by junior high school. If they get past junior high, they're not going to go in vocational school. Like, the social pressure will be too great, excuse me, to not do it. So that goes along with a lot what we've talked about before. Like, you have to get them young. And then the next day we had Tim Regan on, who's a Bergen County vocational school or something. And Larry asked him, what's the biggest impediment to get kids in vocational school? And he, without even hesitating, said the parents.
Parents.
He said the kids will want to do it. They'll look at it and go, that looks cool and fun. And the parents are going, no, Johnny, you don't want to do that.
We want better for you.
Yeah. Meanwhile, both of those guys said that they had a 100% placement for kids coming as a senior graduating from their programs. 100%. Both of them.
And that wasn't it was a lower job, but the growth within a year or two would have been beyond what they would have had when they get out of college. As far as earning capacity.
Yeah, I don't doubt that for a second. That's what we talk about all the time.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Before we wrap it up, guys, is there anything that that you want to add to say to our audience?
Well, if they could check us out at morningtechmeeting.com. We have a video series where I do technician soft skills training 5 days a week. So you get 5 to 8 minute video every single morning. We can send it to every tech's phone. So if they don't all meet in one place, that it can get shot out to them in the field. And we're going through all these things that Larry and I talked about that, make technicians better. And it depends on the size of the company, but it goes from like $29 to $59 a month for a whole company, not per guy. So it's cheap. I mean, we did that on purpose because we want as many companies to use this as possible, And then the radio station's coming up. bluecollarnationradio.com. We're hoping we're going to have that up by June 15th. That's the goal.
June 15th. Awesome. And if people want to get a hold of you, where can they find you guys?
In the mountains of Utah on my bike. Oh, Larry.
Nice. Morningtechmeeting.com.
Yeah, and then there's this killer book, The Blue is the New White. It's really a good book.
I never heard of it.
I have a personalized copy. Very proud of.
Yeah, I think I do too. And
it's on my
actually, I gave that to my stepson recently, and I hope he reads it. Just impressing on him. He's 22, and I'm like, hello, this is going to work for you.
Somebody on Instagram just posted my book, and they called me a more crass version of Mike Rowe, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think I'd rather be the more crass version.
Anyway, guys, I appreciate you spending so much time talking to me and our audience, and really just appreciate everything you guys do for the industry. Keep up the good work, and good luck with everything, yeah?
Cool. Thanks for having us, Josh.
We appreciate everything you've done for us. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.